welcome back to the Click Chick podcast. This is part 2 of the sister episode with Kiley from Tea and Toast and also my entire life.
Because we've known each other for that long.
Yeah, so we are continuing the gossip photographer episode about photographers being treated poorly by clients or not. In the little intermission break that we just took between episodes, I found out Kiley's actually a Redditor.
Barely.
You went on a deep dive.
If you want to call it that. I don't really know what happened. But I'm fairly new to Reddit, actually. And I, postpartum, after I had my baby, there's sometimes moments when you just are up at night and you can't go back to sleep, and so what else is there to do? So I was like, people go on Reddit. I'm gonna download Reddit.
You're like 3 a.m. Reddit.
Like, I'm not even kidding you. It was like 2 to 4 a.m. Let's go on Reddit real quick. So that was me.
What were your threads?
I don't want people.
Are they secret? Were they weird or just like...
I think that,
should we be concerned?
No, but I think, like, after you have a baby and you do something that's, like, pretty miraculous, you kind of look for other stories that are also miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, when I had my baby, it was, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, you kind of feel like you go to a different dimension.
Yeah.
And, like, you're on a different planet, like, spiritually sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. I was on Reddit just looking at different, like, spiritual experiences that people had. So I got into stuff like threads about, like, LSD and DMT and
which you would never do, right?
No,
okay.
No, I would never. No, it was just like we just kind of got a little overboard with, like, okay, near-death experiences, like life after death stuff. Like, I went pretty deep.
I mean, that's interesting, though.
It was really interesting, and for someone who, like, you know, was dealing with a little bit of insomnia here and there, like, after having a newborn, I mean, it was pretty valuable information to use my time, like, I don't know.
No, I love it. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I hope nobody, like, judges me and, like, wow, Kiley is really out there. But honestly, it's really interesting stuff. I learned a lot.
Yeah, no judgment here. All right.
Yeah, so that's the extent of my knowledge of Reddit, and then the I am the asshole.
Am I the
threads.
asshole?
Like, those are really am I the asshole? What did I say?
I am the asshole.
I am the asshole.
I
am I the asshole? Those I also followed too, because those are really funny.
Well, speaking of, let's hop right back into
in.
doing our stories.
Yeah.
All right, first story. Am I the asshole for paying my wedding photographer only half the rate? This happened last year, but is still a subject of contention. Don't post on Twitter or anywhere else. Or on the podcast. I, female 28, got married to my fiance, male 28, during autumn in 2019. It was a lovely wedding. I hired this local photographer who was recommended by the party planner. As it was a small wedding, 50 people, we only hired the one photographer, no team with him. I asked him if he was okay to cover ceremony and reception on his own, and he said that he was. I offered him a higher rate because of that. My family are Southeast Asian and my husband is white and British. I told him we wanted a lot of photos of guests as most of my side has had to fly in, and this would probably be one of the only times they'd be able to travel this far, as visas are expensive. When we were looking through wedding photos, we noticed that there were almost no pictures of my guests, just the guests from my husband's side. We're talking only 10 photos out of hundreds that featured them dominantly as opposed to being in the background. He didn't even get any photos of my grandmother's speech. We thought there was a mistake, so we tried figuring out if the file was corrupted or hidden. When that didn't work, we called him to ask for the rest of the photos. He told us that those were the only photos. This was obviously a problem, so we asked him why there were barely any photos of my family. He said that there just wasn't an opportunity and the lighting was poor on their side, which didn't make sense as during the reception everyone was mingled together. He said it was difficult doing it on his own, which I understood, but he had agreed to that. Needless to say, I was devastated and heartbroken. The remaining 40% of payment was due after he gave us the photos, so I refused to give the rest of the money, seeing as only half of my guests were photographed. He's threatened legal action, and I've threatened breach of contract and even told him that this was subtly racist. Am I the asshole? There's some edits on this. Should I read the edits first, or do you want to hear them? Yeah, they add after they've been reading people's comments. Do we want to comment first or read them now? You want the full story?
I think I want the full story first. Yeah.
Okay, so there's 3 edits. The first one is, since people are asking about the contract, I did specify that I wanted photos of both sides of the guests taken equally and featured equally. Contract is very specific on this. My family had spent thousands on visa fees, and I wanted to be very exact. That's why I believe this was done spitefully. Edit number 2. Just an example, while my grandmother was giving her speech, the photographer had taken photos of my husband's uncle drinking. Meanwhile, when my husband's grandmother was having her speech, a few photos were taken of her. Edit number 3. Regarding the higher fee, I repeatedly asked him 3 to 4 times before the wedding if he was okay to cover everything by himself. Even 3 days before I was asking him to get an assistant, he declined, and I decided to give him extra, like a big tip. So are they the asshole for withholding money to the photographer?
Why do I always want to play devil's advocate?
I can't even picture it. What's the contrast?
Well, not even from him, but like from the photographer's standpoint, isn't this why before the wedding and before you give them the photos, you need full payment?
Right. It's crazy to give someone photos and then not have full payment already. Because why would they ever pay you?
Well, exactly. Right. And like, I mean, I don't know if like we've ever gotten into a situation like that before. Like, but you know, I mean, you just got to think like, why didn't he get paid up front to begin with?
Right.
But also they probably would have then asked for a refund. So it's kind of like, wow. I mean, yeah, I definitely feel like I would have probably done something similar to her. I mean, if you have family come in and you had, you know, trusted this photographer, you talked about it, it's in the contract. I mean, yeah.
And she mentioned how important it was to her.
Yes.
Multiple times.
It sounds like they were very thorough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously I'm leaning more on their side because I'm like, oh yeah, like that would really suck.
The racism aspect is also really interesting because her family is the one, I can't remember where she said they were from, but Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And then he's white and British. So it was only photos of his family, none of hers.
Well, then I'm assuming that.
And then got toast of the groom's grandmother giving a speech, but not the bride's grandmother giving a speech.
Like, maybe it wasn't something that he maliciously intended to do. But
if
he was neglectful.
It feels shady.
Yeah.
It does feel shady.
Yeah. He was probably just really...
Yeah, like I can't speak on it because I don't know the exact situation it was, but it doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't sound good. What a mess.
I mean, I wouldn't pay either if I was the client. Like, I specifically asked you to do something, you didn't do it, and that was like a huge part of it. It's not like, you know, sometimes a bride will give you a shot list with like 30 things that she's like, I really want this. So I explained to them, like, I might not be able to, like, I'm going to do my best, but like however the day unfolds, you know. Right. And so usually I get everything that was on her list.
Sure.
But if like I was to miss one thing, I wouldn't expect them to want a refund or anything. But like this situation, like you're missing guests.
Yeah, for sure.
I shoot most of my weddings by myself, and like occasionally we'll have a second photographer if it's like a big wedding or locations are far apart or whatever. Yeah. But it's not that hard to shoot a wedding by yourself.
No.
If you know what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, how many people were at this wedding? Like 300 people? Like, it doesn't sound like there were like, it sounds reasonable.
Right. Like if you have
people come in, I mean, it's still pretty reasonable, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like I shoot, again, most of my weddings by myself, and I'm still getting images, like candid images of every guest. Right. At least 1 to 3 images of each guest, like laughing, hugging,
I mean, this just sounds kind of lazy on his part too, honestly.
Well, right. Because how are you missing all of her family?
Like, what are you doing during her speech then? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you just like on your phone? Are you going to the bathroom and taking a long time? Are you like grabbing a drink from the bar? Like, I don't know. What are you doing that you're not like focusing on your job? Like you're literally there. It's not like you know any of the guests in this circumstance. So you can't be distracted by like talking to anybody or like catching up with people. It's like, this is literally your job is to be here photographing the wedding. And so what are you doing that is stopping you? Are you just sitting there watching it? You know, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
He got distracted. He's like scrolling TikTok in the background.
Yeah. No. Would not hire.
Yeah, no, the couple is not the asshole. The photographer definitely is.
And honestly, they will probably win the suit against him too. Like
if it's in the contract, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, because then he has no what is his argument here? Like,
I feel like they're lucky that the photographer is lucky that it's only 40% he's losing and not a full refund.
Right. Yeah, I think this is pretty fair.
Yeah.
Honestly. They're not being unreasonable people, so he is the asshole and they're reasonable. They're good people.
All right, next story. Am I the asshole for calling out our wedding photographer? My husband and I were married at the end of October, and we used a friend of my sister-in-law as our wedding photographer. This woman is a professional photographer and was very formal in terms of our communication throughout the process. However, after the wedding, she didn't acknowledge the tip that I sent her via Venmo and stopped responding to my texts and emails. I only texted twice and emailed once, as I knew that the Thanksgiving holiday was coming up soon after our wedding, and I didn't want to put much pressure on her in terms of editing our images. After a couple of weeks, I became concerned that she didn't receive the extra payment and about the lack of communication in general. So I asked my sister-in-law to get in touch. My sister-in-law said everything was all good with the photographer friend and that she was still editing the images. The day after I spoke to my sister-in-law, I received a Christmas card from my brother and sister-in-law that was clearly a professional photograph from my wedding. After I asked my sister-in-law, she said her photographer friend sent her the pic about a week before our conversation and confirmed that she hadn't sent any sort of payment for extra photos. I was pissed. I didn't receive any sort of friends and family discount from this woman, and she sent the pictures that I had paid for to my relatives without even bothering to answer any text or emails from me. We were recently at a holiday party together, and I called her out in front of a couple of people, saying that I was so surprised to receive a picture from my wedding and a Christmas card when I haven't even received any sort of correspondence from her at all when I was the one who paid for the pictures. She said that I was insanely rude and dramatic, and that she and my sister-in-law were close friends, so of course she would send her a cute picture of her family while she was going through the editing process. I told her I would have loved to use my own wedding photos for a Christmas card, but it was too late at that point. She gave a snotty half apology while rolling her eyes, but basically blamed me for not telling her that I specifically wanted a picture for a Christmas card. My sister-in-law is annoyed at me for saying anything to her friend now, too, and has me wondering, am I the asshole?
I don't know. You go first.
I've had this. Okay, so I've had this situation happen multiple times where a family member will go behind the bride and groom's back. It's usually the groom's mother will contact me and be like, hey, can I get a photo of just our family? Because like Christmas cards, you know, it's usually those October weddings just in this exact situation.
Yeah.
And they're like, we really want to do a family photo. And my response to them is always, I would love to do that. Unfortunately, if I do yours, I also have to do everybody else's to make it fair.
Right.
So like per my contract, this, that, and the other, whatever. Now, that being said, if the bride or groom were to ask me to do that, that's a completely different story. And then I can have that conversation with them.
Right.
Which I do. If anybody contacts me outside of the bride and groom, I contact the bride and I'm like, hey girl, this is going on. Like, let
just
me
to give
loop
them
you in.
a heads up, sort of.
Yeah.
So I don't get like backlash from the family or like you know what I mean? Like because it could just create a whole situation.
Well, and I'm trying not to get the bride pissed off because it's again it's usually the groom's mother, and I'm like, okay, there's a chance of conflict here, and so I'll reach out to the bride and be like, hey, your mother-in-law, actually, I had one.
I feel like didn't this
you remember a story?
Yeah, I kind of remember
I'm gonna
this.
keep the details vague. The couple was incredible. Again, I've only had amazing clients, and after I delivered their wedding a few weeks later, the mother of the groom reached out and asked me to edit images. She's like, I didn't like the way this one was edited, I didn't like this, and I was like, oh, interesting. And so, you know, like, I'm always open to constructive feedback. I haven't really ever had clients ask me to edit their images again, but I was like, maybe something's off. So I go and contact the bride, and I was like, hey, just making sure you guys are happy with your images. Like, I got this email from your mother-in-law, and it seems like there's some issues, so, like, let's talk about it. We can hop on a phone call, like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And you're, like, addressing it head on and being really professional, and then, like, confirming.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I want people to be happy.
do, like, it's her wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, if there's any issue, like, let's talk about it.
That's great.
And she was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like, me and my husband, like, we can't believe that this happened. Like, we are thrilled with the photos. Please ignore.
Yeah.
She's like, you can respond to her and charge her for edits if you want,
There
or
you
you can
go.
just ignore it, whatever. I don't know how professional this is, but I ended up just ignoring it. She sent me, like, we went back and forth a couple of times. In between me talking to the bride, and then once the bride was like, you can just ignore it, I was like, okay.
Okay, so what did
the bride
she
left
want
him.
you to change?
She...
Like, to Photoshop her?
Yeah, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's just over the line.
Yeah.
Okay, would the bride's mom ever ask for that?
I've never had it be the bride's mom.
Why is it always the groom's mom, or like the mother-in-law loves to just stir up something?
Right. It's like, this is about
I feel like
me.
I feel like I've heard this a time or two.
Yeah.
Uh.
Well, back to the story.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't send people family photos. I had one,
Yeah.
they got married early December, and the dad at the wedding, like the father of the bride, was like, hey, can we get a family photo? And I was like, yes, but I have to also give one to them. So, like, you know, it's even and everything. I talked to the bride. She was like, yeah, that's cool. You know, because I always want to make sure everything's good.
In this situation, though, she hadn't even gotten any of her wedding photos back.
So it sounds like she didn't even get a preview.
Like, that's so shitty.
Yeah.
Like, stop. Like, of course. So then, yeah, I mean, that's kind of unfair.
Like, you can't send a cute family photo of the sister-in-law and her whole family and not send at least a couple's portrait to use as a, hey, we're the blah, blah last name.
Well, also, like, did they not get a preview? Okay, like...
That's what I'm saying. They didn't get previews.
Right, so if they didn't get a preview, that's the only thing that I would be like, oh, okay. Like, if you gave the bride and groom a preview, like a good preview of like maybe 50 photos or something like that, like 25 to 50 photos from their wedding day, and you had already sent that to them and whatever, then your super close, like, friend, like, of the photographer, if you send her a 1 photo or 2 photos or whatever of her cute little family, to me, like... I don't see anything wrong with it. But they haven't seen any of their photos. That's so unfair.
Yeah, like not a single photo from the wedding.
Like, maybe think about the ramifications that could present. You know what I mean?
Well, and I've had weddings where, like, I have friends of mine as guests at the wedding where, like, maybe the bride and groom hired me and it just happens to be that I know somebody there. And, like, I'll grab a cute little portrait of, like, my friend and her husband or whatever.
Right.
But I don't send it to the friend until, like, a week after I deliver the gallery. Because I'm like, I don't want anything on social media until the bride and groom have had a chance to sit down and look at all of their photos.
Absolutely.
I don't want the drama. I don't want that heat.
Oh, and this is an experienced photographer?
Yeah.
But it's also, like, a friend of...
But the question is, am I the asshole for calling her out in public?
That should have been a private conversation.
I think so, too.
Why? It sounds like she had all of this, like, pent-up energy about it. And she kind of just lashed out in front of other people. Yeah. Like, that's inappropriate.
She should have been like, hey, can I go talk to you on the patio really quick?
Yeah, exactly. But she probably kind of passive-aggressively was like...
Like, oh, I thought it was funny that you said her.
Right. And then it's kind of embarrassing... too for the photographer, so maybe just
that's why the photographer rolled her eyes.
This just feels, gosh, all of these Reddits just feel so icky.
Are you infuriated?
I feel weird. I just feel kind of like uncomfortable because I don't like them. I'm just like, this is so not.
Can we agree that everybody sucks?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
she only sucks not for being mad. I would be mad too.
Yeah.
But she sucks for how she dealt with it.
Yeah. She should have dealt with it in a different way, a more mature way, and she just chose not to.
Yeah.
She let her emotions, like, get the best of her.
All right. So, everyone sucks?
Okay. Yeah.
Same page?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on.
All right. This one is a little bit heavier, so you're not going to like it because you already said you feel icky. Am I the asshole for not prioritizing my photographer's grief over my wedding photos? I got married in September. I booked our photographer over a year in advance. He had great reviews and I really liked his work. We knew that his assistant would be the one shooting our actual wedding, and we were fine with that. We had a really jovial, friendly rapport build up with the engagement photos. It was all great. The wedding day came. His assistant was a doll and we loved him. I paid the full price for everything and right on time. At no time were we difficult clients, but totally the opposite. Our contract states that after the wedding, we can expect to see rough edits, ask for changes, and then get the full gallery back. It states not to expect anything in less than 30 days, but it could take as long as 90 days. Verbally, he told me that turnaround was typically 8 weeks. 8 weeks after the wedding, I hadn't heard anything at all. No sneak peeks, no rough edits, had not seen a single photo. So I sent a text asking how things were going. He referenced the 90 days and said that he was running on time. I was disappointed, but the contract does say 90 days on the outside, so I let it go. On day 85, I sent another text checking in. He replied to say that his mom had passed 2 days before and he'd be taking the rest of the month off and would resume working after the first of the year. I replied with support, but also indicated that I was concerned we weren't going to abide by the contract and that I'd expected to have the photos before the holidays so I could gift albums to my parents and new in-laws. He replied with, "There is an act of God clause. The contract does not mention acts of God, but specifically with regards to if there is an emergency and the photographer can't make it to your wedding. It details how he'd attempt to find a replacement photographer, etc. I reaffirmed my sympathy for his situation, but restated my concern at the fact that we've seen nothing yet and we are worried." He just replied with, "Wow. I understand that against the loss of a parent, my desire for photographs seems trivial, but it's been 3 months. I paid a lot of money for the pictures and I really want them back. It is so delicate and I honestly feel bad for him and really empathize with the loss, but I do feel entitled to what I paid for and contractually agreed to. To be informed 5 days before the deadline and only because I reached out doesn't sit well with me. It seems unprofessional and at the very least like he should have offered a partial refund for not making the deadline. I would have refused that offer if he'd extended it, but would have appreciated the gesture of good faith. Mostly, I just want the pictures. I want to know for sure something bad didn't happen to them, and the record of our beautiful day isn't lost. So now it's day 93, still no pictures. Am I the asshole for mentioning the contract and still wanting my pictures despite his mom passing?" You feel icky again.
Yeah, this is just a tricky one. But sounds like he kind of procrastinated too.
It does. Now, he didn't know his mom was going to die.
Maybe not.
To be like, let me catch up. Let me
like,
catch
maybe
up on
not.
editing quick so I can grieve.
Well, no. I mean,
saying
terrible.
procrastinated is crazy.
no, but like, it sounds like, well, in the beginning though, he probably should have started edits earlier than he did.
Right.
Because it sounds like, when did his mom die?
I guess we don't know, but
We
it
don't
was
know?
sometime around day 80 something.
So, I mean, so here's the difference, right? I mean, take time. If something like that happens, yeah, take some time to just grieve that and to do what you need to do for yourself, right? You might need to take like a month off of work or something like that. Like, I totally get, like, that's understandable. So, like, for me, if she passed away, like, right after their wedding, then by the 90-day mark, they should have gotten their photos, right? Ish.
Right.
Maybe. But if she passed away later, like day 80-something or day 60-something, I mean, he's had time to go through their photos and at least give them a preview. If that's, I don't know
at
if he
least
does
give a preview. Like, give 10 photos.
Just something simple.
Like, just give them reassurance that you have their photos. And
it sounds
you
like
know,
he's not
I've never lost a parent. You've never lost a parent.
Right.
Our parents are the same
same.
ones. But, you know, I can't imagine what he's going through and how hard that is. As a business owner, if I was in that situation, and again, it's hard to say because I've never been through that, but I would imagine that I would just hire somebody to take over the project and get it out.
Right, exactly. Like, you can't just leave. I mean, say you have like 20 clients or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing too. Like, I mean, you know, like Kyle, my husband, is in, you know, he's not in weddings anymore like he used to be, but he does like a bunch of commercial work now.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of clients. So if you think about it this way, like, you know, say something were to happen and we needed to take a leave of absence from that business, but we had jobs booked or we had jobs that needed to get out and be edited, we would probably source that out to others in the same field who we trusted to go ahead and get those things out so that people had deliverables.
Well, and then what's he doing with the weddings he has booked? Like, upcoming.
Right, exactly.
Is he just like, LOL, you're SOL.
Oh, yeah, we're like, can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I'm grieving. It's like, okay, no, the show must go on to some extent.
Yeah, like, unfortunately, life still is moving.
Yes, life still is moving. Nothing just stands still. So you do need to have, like, a plan in place in case something bad does happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think he's kind of acting a little bit unprofessionally here, too, though. Because, yeah, he should have maybe communicated with them. Like,
he could have said, hey, they're going to be delayed a month because my mother passed.
Right. But give them, like, an actual... I mean, how long did he say?
He said 90 days. And then he said he's not going to work
though.
again until the beginning of the year. Which, if they got married in September, let's say it was early September,
So
they should be due early December. So now they're like a month. They're a month late.
Maybe just let it go.
I would let it go.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, just
I would
maybe
ask
let
if
it
we
go.
could at least get previews.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, exactly. Like, could you offer us a preview? Like,
Hate what you're going through.
Right.
If you're able, would love to see a preview.
And
give us one photo. Just prove that they're there.
Yeah, I know.
Like, she's worried that they're gone.
Exactly, which is a valid, I mean, you know, people make excuses all the time.
Yeah.
For stuff. You don't know what his integrity level is either.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Is he the asshole?
I think it's sad.
Are they the asshole for mentioning the contract?
No. I mean, they're trying to get him to stick to his word to an extent, right? I mean,
I feel like they're being a little insensitive.
they're being a little bit much. I think maybe wait another month. If this were to go on past the 6-month mark, then to me that would be like a really big problem. I think they're pushing the issue definitely a little bit too hard.
I think we agree the client's not the asshole.
The client's not the asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the photographer, it's not a great situation, obviously.
Right.
But he should have communicated.
Yeah.
Like, I understand how he's going through a lot.
Right.
But at least say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're all kind of in a weird position here.
Yeah. Not the asshole.
Yeah.
All right, we have 2 more.
Okay.
I'll let you pick which one you want first based on the title.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for photographing a wedding like a party when they booked my party package? Or am I the asshole for expecting a full refund from our wedding photographer?
The second one. Do that one first.
Okay.
And then we'll end with the party one.
Okay, we'll end with a party.
Yeah.
AITA for expecting a full refund rather than the 90% one offered from our wedding photographer. My wife and I hired a photographer for our wedding for $2,000, and we were eagerly awaiting our photos. Fairly recently, I was contacted by the photographer apologizing profusely and telling me he's not going to be able to get us our photos due to a fire that ravaged his entire house. I snooped on his social media profiles to double check that this was true and not just an excuse, and it is. He posted pictures of the burned down house. He also posted that he has homeowner's insurance that will cover it and has posted some pics of him staying at his sister's. So fortunately, he isn't on the street or totally screwed. It's still a pretty sucky situation though. Here's the catch though. He's only offering us a 90% refund for $1,800 instead of the full $2,000 one. He says the differential is due to the huge amount of time he put into editing, the 5 hours he spent shooting at the wedding, and the 1.5 hour round trip he drove to shoot. So that's $200 we're out. I'm not trying to sound too selfish or entitled, but while I think it's all well and good that he put all the work into it, all that doesn't really benefit us if we're not getting a single photo out of it. And I don't see why we owe him anything. It's sad and not his fault. I don't know, maybe he could have saved an extra hard drive somewhere not in his house, but we're not getting our long-awaited and treasured pics, and I feel we deserve the full refund. I've demanded the full refund, and he stood very firm that he's only giving 90%. I am prepared to take him to small claims court or request a chargeback if he doesn't back down. Am I the asshole?
You've got to be kidding me. It's $200.
It's $200.
Stop. Get off of your high horse. Like who cares?
Standing on principle.
Like, I'm sorry. 90% he's refunding them 90%. That's great. Good for him.
But also, it's not out of his pocket. His insurance is covering these refunds.
Okay, but still though.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's getting $2,000 to give to the. It's not out of his own pocket.
Well, right, but still, you need to be compensated for your time. I mean, yeah, he did. If he edited them, he went there. I mean, that's still your time. I mean, he's still giving them 90%.
Yeah.
Why do you have to be really? You're actually, by the time they take him to small claims court, they're going to be in more than, you know what I mean?
Well, because isn't it like $500 to file a small claims court? There's
actually,
some kind of...
Actually, I don't even think they can take him to small claims court because small claims court is for $500 or more, I think.
Oh, and it's really only $200.
So it's only $200, so they don't even have a case, I'm pretty sure. I wonder if it's different, like, state to state.
Yeah.
But I feel like, because we actually, one time with a client, like a commercial client, we threatened to take him to small claims court. But it was, like, over, like, I don't know, maybe $5,000 or $6,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think when we looked into it, it had to be maybe at least $500.
That makes sense, because otherwise,
But
why are you wasting...
$200? Like, come on.
Would you just accept the $1,800 at that point and move on?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
I mean, the other photographer's still an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But, like, I mean, come on.
I don't think they're the asshole in this situation.
Who,
like, I don't...
The couple?
The couple. Like, I would also... It's like, your insurance is giving you $2,000. Give me $2,000. You're not taking it out of pocket.
I mean, I guess. But then how is he being compensated at all for his time?
Wait a minute.
You think you're not
Hold
really
on.
thinking about it from, like, the whole...
Hold on. Because he got paid $2,000 by the couple, right? Insurance is giving him $2,000.
Right.
So he has $4,000.
Oh, are we just dumb?
We're dumb. So he is trying to keep $2,000 plus $200 and only give them $1,800. And y'all, if you're listening to the podcast and I'm wrong, call me out. But I think I'm right.
My head is spinning.
Because he's now been handed $2,000 twice. And he's only you know what I mean? What did he do with the money the clients gave him?
Oh.
We are dumb.
Oh my God.
We're so related. So yeah, he's the asshole. The photographer sucks.
Is. Okay, if
that's so selfish.
If that's the case, then yes, he is selfish.
He's getting double paid.
Yeah, he is. If he's double dipping.
It sounds like unless his insurance didn't cover the images, but I know mine
right,
does.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my insurance is great.
Well, then, yeah, but I mean, they probably still can't take him to small claims court.
Yeah.
Then, honestly, they might just need to, like,
I would accept the $1,800 at that point and just want to be done with it.
I think at that point you accept the $1,800 and you just walk away because it's like, listen, at least come on, like at least you have the $1,800 because at this point they probably haven't gotten reimbursed at all. Mm-hmm. So now they're jeopardizing even getting the $1,800 or $1,800.
Right,
back.
like he could just ghost them.
Like he could just be like, peace, like
right,
I'm out, you know.
Dang, that's sad.
Yeah, I mean,
way, and they have no wedding photos.
Yeah,
so it's like they're already going through the grief of realizing that there are no photos from this like most perfect day of their lives, and now they're also out the $200.
Right. Yeah,
it's just really rude. All around a bad experience. So they are not the asshole.
They are not the asshole. Wow, we took a complete 180 on that. once we connected. Once we
did math, our two functioning brain cells high-fived.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Not the asshole.
Aw. Yeah.
All right. Our last story. Am I the asshole for photographing a wedding like a party when they booked my party package? All the details slightly changed to protect everyone's anonymity. I'm a photographer. About half a year ago, a couple booked my informal party package for their event. It's my cheapest package, with my most expensive one being my wedding package. They were kind of dodgy about what kind of party it was, which was strange, but money is money, so I agreed. The event was a couple weeks ago. As I pull up to the venue, lo and behold, people are there in suits and dresses, and there's wedding decor everywhere. Oh boy. So I get in, and the bride and her mother intercept me. They immediately start ranting and berating me for how unprofessional I am for not being 2 hours early and for wearing a polo shirt and cargo shorts to a wedding. I basically told them that they would stop taking that tone with me or I was going to leave. Two bridesmaids intervene and basically herd the two women away from me and try to talk them down. While a third one takes over giving me shit for how I showed up, but the ceremony was about to start, so she left. At this point, I was pissed off. But then again, I already drove there and wasn't told to leave, so I decided to stick through with it. A few more people approached me to give me crap, but I told them to F off, and I'd only take criticism from the people footing my bill, i.e. the bride and groom. The couple apparently decided that having any photos at all was worth ignoring me, and the only person who coordinated throughout the event was the groom's father, who managed to act civil. Now I'm done editing and contacted the clients with my bill, but they and some of their friends have contacted asking for a discount because of how inappropriate I was. I don't see their point, but my fiance suggested I could give them some symbolic victory, like 5% off, because they may not have been able to afford my full wedding package. So, AITI.
Ooh.
I actually had this happen to me.
What?
Yeah.
This is a lot to unpack. I want to hear about what happened to you, too.
So I was booked for an elopement. They were like, oh, we only need 4 hours of coverage. It's going to be a really intimate wedding, just a few guests, really small. We don't have a wedding party. Like, it's going to be like a really laid back day. We just want a bunch of candid images. And I'm like, okay, cool. And obviously I dress professionally to all of my weddings.
As
it sounds
do.
like he didn't dress as professionally because he thought it was just, you know, a casual
party. Just a party. He didn't know it was a wedding.
So I was dressed appropriately for the wedding. I always like bring extra gear. So, you know, like for an elopement, you're not going to take nearly as many photos as you were for a wedding day. Like a wedding, I walk away with like 6,000 to 8,000 photos. An elopement, I'm going to walk away with like 2 because it's just less happening. So anyway, I show up to this wedding and I realize there's about 80 guests. So it's not an intimate wedding.
No.
I go into the bridal suite. She has like 6 bridesmaids.
No.
He has groomsmen, all of this stuff. And so my elopement packages are a different rate than my wedding packages because there's so much more that happens on a wedding day. There's more editing. There's more planning, like everything. It's a lot more work. And so I shot everything. It ended up being really insane. We crammed so much stuff into the hours that they had booked me to where, you know, like my style of photography is that more documentary style. I never want to rush people, but unfortunately, because of everything she wanted, which was like a complete 180 from what we had discussed earlier, it's like, okay, you have 5 minutes to put your dress on if this is what you want. You have, and of course, like I was so nice about it.
Of course, yeah. In the moment, it's like, what else do you do? At that moment, you have like a choice to either like roll with the punches and be really positive, or you can be a negative Nancy
or ruin the day,
right? And like ruin it. Yeah. Exactly.
So I just decided to eat it. I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna have this conversation with them. Like, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm like, maybe they genuinely didn't know that they were screwing me over.
No.
But like, had they booked what they needed for an appropriate amount of time and everything, I lost like $2,000 on this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if the wedding planning process, like when they had hired you, they had an initial vision. And then you know how sometimes people kind of get overbearing in the wedding planning process. Yeah. They're like, oh, you know, like, oh, we're actually going to invite these people. And no, we have to invite these people.
Right.
And it could have honestly just happened really, really fast to where the family kind of took over.
Yeah, definitely.
And then their vision was lost.
Yeah, so I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, like, you know, it could have been, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt a lot of the time. So I'm like, okay, a situation like that could have happened.
Right.
And then they were just like, well, crap, like now what are we supposed to do? Like, you know, and then they're like, are they going to communicate that to you? Like,
right.
I mean, that's probably the least
they
of their
should
worries.
have.
They should
but,
have.
You know, again, like they don't want to pay $2,000 because it's like, oh, now it's not 20 guests, it's 80. Like that's in my elopement package is like it's up to a certain amount of guests.
That's
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy sounds like, I'm just assuming it's a guy. I think he showed up to do the job he thought he was to do, and he still was a trooper.
Why would he show up 2 hours early if he was contracted to show up at 4? He's going to show up at 4 or whatever time it was.
Right. So you can't get mad at him for that. I mean, that's not his fault at all. I mean, they booked him for like a party package. I mean, they're just being cheap. Like, you know, and they're not being honest and upfront too. And also, it's really bad that like the bride and groom ignored him. Right. Is that what it said? Like, come on. That is
they
so
wouldn't have
passive
a conversation.
aggressive.
Yeah. No, I don't like it at all. He's not the asshole.
No.
He would have been fully within his right to just up and leave. And like the fact that he didn't is great. Like treat him with respect, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a lot though.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I do not like that. I like honesty and upfront. You know.
I wonder if it says he contacted them with his bill. I wonder if he charged them for a wedding instead of an event, and that's why they wanted a discount.
Right.
Right. Which is probably what I should have done, but I didn't.
Well, right. Like, hey.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Y'all scammed me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, even unintentionally or intentionally,
Right.
like you still feel
Yeah.
you're kind of still being scammed.
Well, and then it's
so.
like we still did everything that you would do on an 8-hour
Yeah.
wedding day, just
Right.
cramped, and I didn't have any time to take a break to eat. Like the bride and groom didn't even get to eat. They're like, "Oh, we want golden hour. We want this. We
Oh my
want this. We want
gosh.
this." And I was like, "Ah."
Yeah,
Like, we
all
don't
of
have
this just
time.
like reminds me of like why I chose a different career path.
I do love weddings though. I do.
I know, like, you know, but for me personally, like, you have a tolerance for like so much more than I
Yeah.
do. Like, I am definitely like a people person, and I'm like, I can roll with the punches. I'm really positive and stuff like that. But I feel like you're a different type of person to like. You're just like, oh yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah,
Woo.
I'm flexible.
You're way more flexible than I would be. I'd be like, oof, I don't like this. Yeah, but yikes. I feel bad for him.
I do too. He was totally taken advantage of, and they knew what they were
Yeah.
doing is like the crappy part.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that they were probably being passive aggressive because he kind of found them out, and you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Definitely.
And they're just probably like, ugh.
We want to get away with this. Yeah.
That's
no, it's
crazy.
so crazy. Not the asshole
All these-
at
yeah.
all. You should be compensated.
Oh my god.
Sad, honestly. All right, that was the last story.
Crazy.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Sister episode, little collab. You collab
Yeah.
with Leah all the time on the tea business.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now it was our turn.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, yeah, I've shot some weddings. Always a second shooter though.
Never for me, which is surprising. There was one time you said you would if I absolutely couldn't find anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which like I wouldn't now probably.
No.
I
But
feel
back in the
it's
days
yeah.
before the baby, before life got crazy.
before life
yeah.
got crazy. Yeah, for sure. In a pickle, I would have totally helped you because
Yeah.
I do know how to work a camera, and I do, again, people person, all that. But
No,
yeah.
you're great. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. It's been forever since I've shot a wedding, or like second shot a wedding.
You were just at a wedding.
I was at a wedding, but I didn't have to do anything. Just got to enjoy it as a guest, and that's
Yeah.
the best.
That's like the crazy thing about being a wedding photographer is you never
Yeah.
get to actually go to your friends' weddings because you're
Yeah.
already booked. And
Mhm.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
Anyway, where can people
Whatever.
find you on the internet with your tea business?
Tea and Toast Shop is on Instagram. That's the best place. I have like all my stuff linked there. It's the best place to follow if you so desire. to
Perfect.
keep
Please
up.
follow her. It's gorgeous. Get her tea. She sells it online if you're out of state, not local.
We ship.
She does a farmer's market every Saturday in Winston-Salem. Anyway, that's enough
Yeah,
promo
yeah.
for you.
That's fine.
Um,
I'm just here for fun, not to promote my business. I'm literally here for fun,
Just for the gossip.
for the gossip, for the sister vibes.
Yeah, she's listened to enough episodes. She was like, I want to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, why not? I want to do like an Am I the Asshole segment. That
Yeah.
sounds like fun.
Now you got it. And then for me, you can find me on the internet, Instagram and TikTok at 1828 Collective to see some of my work. And then to see more with the podcast and photo education, it's at 1828 Photo Education. Thank you guys for listening.
You